Miss Pam and them were out on vacation, and we took a glove off of them, and all the work that she, David, did over in the, don't look at me like with that tone of voice, don't look at me, don't look at me in that tone of voice, and we only, Brother Alex, when you get up, she's going to set the table. No, seriously. And we were able to get them $500. Okay? Amen. I had heard that David had to pay $500 to get somebody to work for him because he had to take off and go take the kids to camp. I thought it was only gracious that we do that. Okay? So thank all of you and others as well for contributing to that. Wow. Did I say Ecclesiastes? My Bible opened to Numbers 16. How many of you know about Numbers 16? Cora?
That comes after 15.
How many of you? What that story is about is watching out for who you follow. Watch out for who you follow. Because Cora came upon the man of God, okay? And he brought his company with him. And as they stood there, hey, God showed them who was in charge. He just opened up the ground and sucked them all in. And it says, and I'll read it to you, just in case you've forgotten. Moses has spoken, God has spoken to Moses, Moses has spoken. And in Numbers 16:31 it says, and it came to pass as he had made an end in speaking all these words, that the ground clave asunder that was under them. And the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and their houses, and all the men that appertained unto Korah, and all their goods. It says, I can imagine this happening. Brother Roy, I can see this happening. Korah's up here, he's in front, he's ringleader. He's ringleader. He's going to take over. He's going to take over, okay? And as he's sitting there with all his company behind him, the ground starts shaking and opening up, and he's the first one to go. And the guy sitting back here is going to his wife like, and follow this guy, okay? So be careful who you follow, okay? Now let's get to Ecclesiastes. I don't know what took me there, but it's turned there. Okay? Chapter number 5. Chapter number 5, okay? Chapter number 5. I've got it right here. Well, we're moving right along. We're already in chapter 5. I get this over here, so I can work. I can't see what I'm doing. All right. What'd you do, Silas? I didn't do nothing. Make sure you don't. Make sure you don't do nothing, okay? All right, we're in chapter 5. All right. Much of this chapter, y'all, Ecclesiastes, sounds a little bit like the book of Proverbs. It's good counsel, and it needs to be followed, some of it. But periodically in this chapter, Solomon reverts to the vanity attitude again. You look into these matters from a human, horizontal viewpoint only. Now Solomon tries something else here, and this is something that may interest you in a great deal, because he is trying to find satisfaction in religion, and he does not find it. He does not find it. Now I'm going to probably say several things, maybe a few things, which may startle you somewhat. But I don't want you to reject me until you listen to me a little longer, okay? I hope you know that religion has damned people all over the world for a long time. It's sending people to hell, okay? You take those pagan religions, if you go back and look at some of them in China and India and different places, okay? In the past and even in the present, if you have religion, I suggest you get rid of it as fast as you can. You need to exchange it for Christ, okay? I personally do not think one can call Christianity a religion. There's no ritual given to Christianity, any kind of whatsoever, okay? Have you ever stopped to think about that? Hey, and I don't mean to hit on anybody, because I know Miss Sherry came out of this environment. You can sing the doxology if you want to, or you don't have to sing the doxology, okay? Christianity was never given a form to go by, okay? Why? Because Christianity is a person. You're a Christian. You're a Christian. You're a Christian. You're a Christian. You're a Christian, okay? That's Christianity. It's a person, okay? Religion has never been very helpful to man. Okay, religion. So people get confused. Religion will send you to hell. Okay? So let's look at what Solomon's saying here. And the first thing we come up with, of course, is worship. Okay? Worship. And in verses 1 through 7. Look at the sincerity in worship. And again, like I said, some of this stuff is really good. It's really good. Are y'all hot in here? I gotta tell you, I set that air conditioner. Hold on. I got it on television. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. I got it made you feel warmer in here and just hold it there. Okay? Let's get down there a little bit. All right. Taking care of that. I'm cooler already. Where was I? Okay. Messed myself up. There we go. I got my notes now. Okay. What did I say? Oh, yeah. Sincerity in worship. Look here what it says. I'm just giving you sometimes I'll just give you parts of a verse, and sometimes we'll read the whole verse. But it says, keep thy foot. That means just behave properly. Behave properly, okay, in worship and in the services and so on, okay? When thou goest to the house of God, behave right, okay? And be more readily to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil, okay? Hearing the sermon, okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Where are you reading from?
I thought I was in Ecclesiastes 5:1.
5:1?
Mm-hmm. Keep thy feet when thou goest into the house of God. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Hearing the sermon says you are sincere in your worship, whereas simply offering sacrifices says you are going through the motions. Is any of this or all this from your heart, though? Okay. 1 Samuel 15:22, I put it down here, says, Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. Many go to church and do no more than go through the motions. Okay? Their heart's not in it. Their heart is not in their worship. And their walk will give evidence of that, okay? Of how they are in the worship. Brother Bob and I talked about just a little bit ago. But it'll show, it'll stick out all over people, okay? I can stand up here as I preach and tell who's into the worship service and who's not. I guess that's why they want the platform to be elevated so you can see who's in it and who's not, okay? And what he's saying is there's a lot of people who come into the worship service, but they're not in the worship service. They're not really in it, okay? Yet they are not aware of their evil in their insincerity in the worship service. It says, keep thy feet when thou goest in to the house of God, and be more ready to hear than to give a sacrifice of fools. Come with your cup turned up the right way. See, going to some churches is not only a waste of time, it is wrong. It is wrong. Listen to me out. It is wrong to give your approval to liberal pulpits. It's wrong to do that. I hear people say all the time, well, my grandchildren or my children, well, they're in church, and as long as they're in church somewhere, I'm good with that. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not, because they could be getting fed the wrong stuff. And what they need to be fed is this right here. And they need to be fed the truth of this right here. So don't encourage that if they're in a wrong church, okay? If they're in a wrong church. So many churches around Murfreesboro, Tennessee are not good for your young people to be in. Not good for your old people to be in, okay? And again, if you go into a church, a liberal church, you're more or less saying, okay, this is okay. This is okay. It's wrong when you do not give support to a fundamental pastor who preaches the Word of God. Okay? It's wrong when you do not do that. Okay? Solomon tried being religious. He went into the temple, but he warned, he said, have as little to do with it as possible. Keep your mouth shut. Go and sit down. Hey, that's good enough. Okay? Don't commit to anything. Don't commit to anything. Don't pledge to anything. Don't try to, hey, don't get involved. We see people all the time come in here and on Sunday morning, but that's the extent of it. Okay? We try to encourage them to fellowship, they don't do that. Miss Pat, they don't do that. And they don't do it because they're not in it. They're not into it. I mean, you know, I get so upset with people when they don't get involved in the church. When I got saved in 1974, the first thing I done was at Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night visitation, any Friday night fellowship they had. I was in the church more than I was at home, it seemed like sometimes. But I got fed. And Sunday school is vitally important to you. Bible study is vitally important to you. How many of you, and I've had to struggle, Miss Cynthia, I have had to struggle. Your daddy could have helped me tremendously. He could have done this. I've had to struggle with Ecclesiastes. You know, I've read Ecclesiastes, I don't know how many times, read the Bible too. But Miss Diane, I've never studied Ecclesiastes. I just took Ecclesiastes for what Ecclesiastes said, brother. I just took it for what it said. Knowing that he was out of the will of God, I just, okay, big deal. But now when you get into it and start studying it, and you start realizing what's popping off the pages to you, it enlightens you, it tells you, hey, this is stuff, no. All this, I'm not going to be doing. I'm going to take this in. Now again, a lot of this is okay, but he always goes back to it's all vanity, that attitude of vanity. So again, he's saying here, hey, go in, but don't commit to nothing, don't do nothing, don't just sit down, shut up, get up and leave the same way you came in. I heard that just said on the radio the other day. But it says just come as you are. Come as you are. Well, many come as they are and leave as they came. Okay? They get nothing. They get nothing out of it. So when you come into the worship service, have your cup turned up right. Okay? All right? Look here. It says, be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before God. For God is in heaven, and thou upon earth. Therefore, let thy words be few. Verse 2. He's warning, do not make any decision under the stress of emotion. You can cry over a sad movie, over yellow or something, okay? But don't do that in church. Don't get too emotional in church. Don't get too involved in the church. Don't get too attached to the church. Don't sign a pledge. Back a year ago, and even this year, we did some. Well, we had mission conference. We had pledge cards. We had, you sign up. I'm trying to think of the words. You might help me out real quick. Anyway.
Faith promise.
Yeah. Faith promise, that's what they're called. Faith promise. That's in a card, okay? But now here about that, here's what you got to think about. When you do that, you better keep it. If you pledge $10 a week, you better give $10 a week. I don't care if you had to, buy a few less cigarettes. Whatever you have to do, you pledged it, you better give it. And we're going to talk about that a little more in just a minute, because that's where he goes, is making a vow. You vow to God something, but you don't keep it. Then you go around, I'll get to it deeper in just a minute, but then you go around and say, oh, wait a minute, God, I made an error there. I messed up. I didn't mean to say that. He said, oh, that don't work with God. That don't work with God. You're talking about God. You're not talking about the preacher. You're not talking about your wife or your husband. You're not talking about a good friend. You're making a vow. You're making a pledge to God. I've seen so many people do it. I've seen so many people make a vow. Oh, I done told them down this place I ain't gonna work no more ever on Sundays. I ain't gonna work no Wednesday nights. I made a vow to God I wouldn't do that. A month later, they're right back on Wednesday night working. Next week, they're on Sunday afternoon going to work. Now, some people have to. Don't you take that wrong, Miss Pam. Some people have to. She hadn't made that pledge because she don't know. She can't do that. She has to work on Sunday. David has to work tonight. He's at work tonight. There's people who have to do that. That's not what that's saying. It's when you vow to God. See, when I vowed to God that I would accept the call of ministry, guess what I did? I accepted the call of ministry. I felt so inadequate, it was unreal. I said, I can't do this. There's no way I can do that, God. And God said, don't you worry, I got you covered. Okay? I'll take care of it. But Alex, he said, don't you worry, I'll equip you. You just do what I told you to do. Okay? So here he's saying, don't make a pledge. That's okay to sign if you buy a car or you rent a house or you buy a house. So it's okay to do that kind of signing. But don't you commit yourself to God in writing. Don't commit yourself to God in writing. In other words, make it a religion. Go through the formalities of it, but don't go through the realities of it. Okay? Don't go to the reality of God and being involved. Okay? Solomon is not the only one who's ever tried that. Amen. There's a lot of unhappy people in our churches today who've tried that. Amen. They never get involved. They just go through the nice little sweet ritual of coming into church, sitting down, opening the Bible to where the preacher says go, and he reads it and they look at it. They get up after it's over, close their Bible, pick it up next Sunday. Okay? That's where they go. Now, y'all think I'm being hard on you? I'm just giving you what Ecclesiastes is giving us. Okay? This is not me. This is God talking. Okay? This is God doing it. And he said there is nothing. There's nothing worse than this kind of thing. Okay? Look at verse 3. It says, For a dream cometh through the multitude of visions, and the fool's voice is known by multitude of words. Basically, that's just there's a lot of things being said in church that should not be said. Did y'all get that? There's a lot of things being said in church that should not ever be said. Okay? Okay? I'll take you back to number 16 if I have to. This is serious stuff. God don't take it lightly. God, when you go after the man of God, okay? When you go after the under shepherd of a church, when you disrespect him, when you do anything to try to take over and have your agenda, okay? And one of us in here who would just like to have our agenda, okay? But God has an agenda. And God says, this is the way I want it done. And whether you like it or not, Mr. Coral, it's going to be done that way. But what I'll do with you, I'll eliminate you. I'll eliminate you. And buddy, he eliminated him pretty quickly, and he eliminated him. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes for his socks, and I don't even like socks. I don't even wear socks. But I wouldn't have been in his shoes for his socks. But buddy, when that ground started to trickle, I bet he got to thinking, uh-oh. He just said, earth go open up, swallow up, boom, and he's gone. Bam, he's gone. You say, well, God, he'd do that to me if I bumped the preacher a little bit. Well, I don't know. But he might do something. He might do something. He might do something. Okay? That's what the Bible said. The Bible, hey, if he's standing right here, that, hey, you don't take any interest in worship. You don't have any interest in it. You don't care. You don't care. You know? You don't really care. So you just come in and sit down and sit soaking silent. Okay? Now, look at verse 4. This is where we're going to try to get to, what I'm going to try to say all that. When thou vowest to vow unto God, now keep that in mind. Not to vow to the preacher, not vow to Alex, not vow to Jim. Not vow. When thou vowest to vow unto God, defer not to pay it, for he hath no pleasure in fools. Pay that which thou hast vowed. Wow. When thou vowest a vow unto God, defer not to pay. Don't break your vow. Not to God. Don't break whatever it was. I mean, I hear people all the time, it's the first of the year. I made a resolution. Well, I made a New Year's resolution. I ain't going to miss a Sunday. I ain't going to miss a Sunday night. I ain't going to miss a Wednesday night in church this year. First thing is March, the very first week, the devil posts something up. And they can't make it. And they go, wow. I vow to God. Better be ready to pay if you're going to vow to God. You can't promise God things and fail to make it good. You can't fail to promise God something and not make it good. Wow. When you don't do it, when you don't keep that, let me tell you what, it busts your relationship with God. It breaks your relationship with God. Your vital relationship with God must be kept. You've got to keep your vow. Okay? Whatever you promised him you're going to do, I don't care if it breaks your back, you try to do it. Okay? Whatever it is. There's a lot of pious talking and pious promises that again is absolutely meaningless because it's never carried out. People never do it. People never do it. I've had people ask me, well, I think you need to delegate more. Well, I would. And I don't have a problem delegating. But I want to delegate to people who's going to do the job. I don't want somebody just to take on something and drop it a week or two later. I'm one of them hands-on people. I've always been that way. I'm going to be that way as a pastor. As long as I stand as a pastor, I'm going to be a hands-on pastor. Hey, when I trained 8 or 9 salesmen, I had the opportunity to let them, Brother Roy, go out in the territory and work, and I could sit in that air-conditioned office of mine, kick my feet up on that desk, and read the newspaper. No. I was in the field every day. In the field every day. With them or out doing my own territory, whatever. I worked in the field because that's the way I kept my hand on the pulse. Miss Chevelle had my hand on the pulse of what was going on when they came to me and started telling me, I can't do so and so and so and so. I said, hey buddy, don't make up that excuse. I did that. I've been there. I'm out there too. I know what it's like. I want to be involved, and I'm going to be involved. Okay. Now again, there's a thing about all that. There comes a time when the preacher has to have time to study. He has to have his time to get into the book and get prepared for Sunday and Sunday evening and Wednesday. When I first took a church, Brother Tom, when I first took a church in Woodbury, The first week, it hit me like a ton of bricks, Brother George. I was off to work. I was working. I was a bivocational preacher. And I was off at work when it really hit me on Monday morning. It hit me. Hey, boy. Hey, buddy. Hey. But think about something. You got to have 3 messages. Actually, I had to have 4 about preaching in nursing home. You got to have 4 messages a week. You ain't never done that. And I had. God, Miss Terry, I never had to preach on. I mean, I've been called on occasion to preach. I never had to have 4 messages a week. Buddy, I had to go right here. I had to get my nose in the book. I had to start reading. I had to start studying. I had to get busy, real busy. I hardly even knew how to outline a sermon. I hardly even knew how to outline a sermon. I just started writing down stuff. And I start reading it. I start reading commentary. I start getting the Strong's Concordance dictionary out. And I just went. But you got to have time. If you want me to be your pastor, you've got to give me some time. Okay? I got to have some time to study. I can't be bombarded with stuff constantly. Okay? I love to be at the hospital. I love to be at the nursing home. I've had to go this week and a couple of times see my sister. I was so upset. I went to see her Monday, wasn't it? Monday I was there. And I approached her a hamburger, cheeseburger, and a milkshake, chocolate milkshake. And I go get it. And I get to the community care. And I start to get out of the car, and I just reach in there and grab that milkshake by the top and pulled it out and flipped it out of my hand and hit the paper. And I thought, oh, no, I ain't got no milkshake. I was going to scoop it up. But I said, I got no milkshake. So I go in there, and I go, well, I got a cheeseburger. I carried it in there, and she's already eaten half a cheeseburger. They called her a cheeseburger that day. This Stacy, she had a cheeseburger, and it was good because that was the first meal she's eaten all of it. That's the first thing she's ever eaten so far, eaten all of it. She ate that whole cheeseburger. She said it's delicious. I said, I bet you one too. She ate it tonight. But again, I don't know where I'm going here, but if you make a vow, keep your vow, okay? Don't break it. Don't break it. Pray about it. Be serious about it. I've heard people stand up and talk about, oh, Lord, hey, the Lord's called me to preach, and I'm gonna preach. I'm gonna accept it. I'm gonna do it. And 2 weeks later, can't find it. Don't know where they are. You may not realize this, and I'll just give you the text so you can go back and read it later. You should do that. I recommend you go back and read Numbers 16 all the way through. And I recommend you go to Leviticus 27. Because I don't think you know, God actually gave a law concerning the vow. Okay? In Leviticus 27. You need to read it. When you make a vow to God, you better mean what you say. Because God is going to hold you to it. You better believe it. One way or the other. There are many people who are no longer missionaries, no longer preachers in a pulpit, no longer Christians. Hey, who have many Christians who have been put on a shelf because they did not keep their promise to God. Okay? Don't do that. Don't do that. You are dealing with you're dealing with the person of God, y'all. The person who hears and expects you to keep your promises to him. Whatever that is. Whatever that is. Whether it's in your attendance at church, whether it's in your giving, whether it's in your service to him. Service to him. You need to keep it. You need to keep it. All right, let's go on to verse, I don't know where we are. What's the verses 4 through 7. And we'll go back there, and I'm just going to pull out some stuff here. When thou vowest to vow unto God, defer not to pay it. Better is it that thou shouldest not vow than that thou shouldest vow and not pay. Suffer not thy mouth to cause thy flesh to sin. In the multitude of dreams and many words there are also divers vanities. But fear thou God. Need to fear the Lord. Need to fear the Lord. Vow making was usually a religious exercise, okay? It was not a mandatory exercise, but one of willingness by the individual to make that vow, okay? To vow and to not pay was an insult to God. Was an insult to God. I was insulted recently by someone. I mean, it sat in my preaching for years. Had the audacity to ask me something that they knew was sinful, and they should have known my answer. But they had the audacity to ask me about it. So that's what this is with God. You make a promise to Him, but then you say, nah, I don't want to do that. I didn't mean that. Don't do that. That's a slap in His face. That's an insult to God. That's an insult. See, God brought judgment on those who did not fulfill their vows. Okay? They did not fulfill them, and hey, He gave them judgment. And it says here, at the very last, this injunction here says was to fear, honor, reverence, respect thou God. When you speak, you make a vow. Keep it, okay? Keep it. And when I say suffer thou the mouth and so on and so forth, after making the vow to God, again here in verse, I think this is about verse 6, is to suffer not thy mouth to cause thy flesh to sin, neither say thou before the angel that it was an error. I messed up. I didn't mean to say that. He said, wherefore should God be angry at thy voice and destroy the work of thine hands? God's going to get you. God's going to get it. He's going to get you. Making a vow to God and saying it was an error. It was an error. I should never have said it. I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I did that. See, I made some of those in my life almost 50, 60 years ago. Jim and Linda made some of those over 60 years ago. Some of you others made those vows. Okay. Anytime I preach a wedding ceremony, I always tell them it will be the traditional vows. A lot of people now want to do their own vows. I said, no, not with me. Those vows are the same vows my ancestors took. My grandma, my granddad, and my mom and my dad, and all they took those vows, and they're the traditional vows. To death do us apart, sickness and hell, rich or poor, whatever. Hey, going to do those. It's saying right here that hey, I made a mistake. I didn't make a mistake 56 years ago. They didn't make a mistake 60 years ago. Others didn't make a mistake. No matter how long it's been, didn't make a mistake. And you vowed to be there when she's sick. You vowed to be there when you're poor, when you're scraping, when you're having to eat a TV dinner. Back in Savannah, Georgia, when we first got married, I was in administrative work, so I was in a position where I go to the barracks and eat if I had any money. A lot of times I didn't have enough money to go do that. I had bumped up, before I got married, bumped up with the chef. He was my buddy. And every once in a while he'd sneak me out of steak. He'd sneak me out of stuff. Bring it to us. I came in one night, it's the end of the month, we ain't got paid yet. We have one TV dinner in the freezer. And she said, what we gonna do? I said, well, you need that item to chow. Lied, I had not eaten the chow. Then she took every bite, Mr. Diane, that TV. And my mouth was water, and my mouth was water. I just tried my best, Jim, to smile through it. So, if you enjoy that, honey, I'm so full. Hey, vow, okay, kept that vow. Hey, you need to keep your vows, okay? Now, I've gone a long time on this. We're gonna get into the wayward side of all this next week. Okay, we're gonna get into the wayward side verses about 8 and 9, maybe through there somewhere. But again, you just remember that religion will send people to hell. And there's a lot of religion around today. There's a whole lot of religion around today, but there's not a whole lot of Christ in churches today. People just shut him out. They've shut him out, left him out. Okay? All right, let's get to our prayer list. I hope you all have one.